to be a catalyst between research, trainers, and pet parents and other pet related professionals. So I try to frame things in as easy to understand manner as I can, although the concepts are actually steeped in scientific evidence and data. But my job is to make it readable and understandable for the average person. And the dog training industry is in what I consider a lot of trouble because there are no regulations. So it's critically important. I'm on a mission. If any of you are in my group, which I'm very hands-on, as I know Oliver's very hands-on with his members, you would see that there is a description of force-free, do no harm, and the first do no harm ethical code that is used in so many different societies, institutions, the American Medical Association, the American Psychological Association, in most of the medical schools in the UK and around the world. I mean, it's 400 years old, known as the Hippocratic Oath. The dog training industry does not have a do no harm ethic. So this really creates problems. I'm also an international speaker, and I was just delighted to have gone to the UK, and I spoke last October, it's been almost a year, at the University of Winchester, which was like, that was like a bucket list thing for me to speak in a lecture hall of a university. They have that stage where down on the bottom, way down there, and the chairs all go like this up to the ceiling, and there's this huge screen of my slides back at me. So it was pretty daunting, but truly wonderful. And then I stayed for 3 weeks, so I've become completely enamored with the UK, and they really are, in so many ways, more advanced.
The Europeans in general, I think, have a very different dog culture. It's really interesting when you go there and you see. And I also think they're not as influenced by a lot of these sort of quick fix internet artists that abuse dogs into submission and get popular, right? I mean, the guy that is the worst is this dog daddy guy. I just, you guys know who I'm talking about? And by the way, the chat is back now, so everything is going the way it's supposed to go, and hopefully we'll see more people jump on. But have you guys seen the dog daddy guy, Yami, Michael, you guys? So I've got some of my real regulars here joining us, but I'm just curious if they've ever seen that guy.
I can't avoid him.
Oh, yeah. I wish he'd try that with one of my animals. There would be the end of him, and then we wouldn't have that guy anymore.
Right. I actually I was at the PPG summit in Phoenix, and I actually went to protest the dog daddy who was having a secret meeting. And of course, I was not allowed to go inside, but I went inside. The show was already over, and so no one could get near him. He's like, there are lots of barriers separating him from anyone who might want to speak to him about what he's doing. So anyway, yeah, it's a big problem. And in the UK, oh my gosh, Oliver, I couldn't believe it. In like Winchester Cathedral, there's dogs in the cathedral. There's dogs walking around Stonehenge. There's like dogs everywhere. And that, I think in the whole 3 weeks I was there, I saw one prong color.
Yeah, you see a lot of good harnesses, and people know how to use harnesses. That seemed to be. I mean, it's just in some places older culture has more advanced, And I think Americans in general still this sort of the concept of manifest destiny and dominion over all translates into some pretty atrocious animal care standards in the U.S. And I also think socially, it's just not acceptable to be bad to your dog in Europe. Like I think people will walk right up to a person if they don't like it.
The United States, there are some well-known influencers who actually have moved here from other countries where, for example, shock collars, prong collars, choke collars are illegal. And they've come over here and now they have these huge following and they're trying to get into the UK. But there's stops been put on them promoting themselves. However, right now, I swear, I've been through it all, Oliver. I spent 10 years, literally 10 years debating with these people about harm in training. And to no avail. I felt like I got nowhere because it was just this circular arguments about operant conditioning that went around and around and around. And I finally stopped. So in my group, for example, my group is a force-free support group. And so we don't debate it any longer. But the name of the game now is legal. Education, sadly, and believe me, I am a big nerd for education. As I've been telling you about my background in research and in my graduate programs. However, education is not enough. Education is not going to stop the animal abuse that's masquerading as dog training. It's not. And a lot of these groups that support shock collars are very well organized. They have email campaigns. When legislation is put on the floor, an animal welfare law, a bill is proposed, they go out to sponsors of the bill. They even go in person to their offices. And anyway, it's become like, I just myself, after so many years of being in this quagmire, I've just realized what they're doing and how they're doing it.
Yeah, it's sort of the same in like the wildlife trapping. It's a very small group, but they're very organized. They're super committed. They're determined to get their way, and they have an outsized influence on public policy, which is super unfortunate, even to the detriment of the general public. They don't want to have to put signs that trapping is even happening, and people end up with dogs in traps. And it's the same thing. They represent a tenth of a percent of the population in the States, where, it's probably even smaller than that. It's a minuscule number, yet they have this massively outsized influence. And I think part of the problem is that the rest of us who just sort of see what's right, we don't have the motivation to be organized in that way or to be cohesive in that way, because it's like we don't have the shared enmity, right? All those guys, we're the enemy. The people that want to treat animals better are the enemy, and they're willing to coalesce to work together to defeat this common enemy. It's super unfortunate. So, yeah, I hear you, and I think Roman is fighting the good fight right now, particularly on Facebook and Instagram, where he's engaging these folks more and trying to point out. And you know what? I think maybe it would be a good idea to take a step back here, because I think a lot of the people that are on the stream right now are folks that know me from Wolves, but some of the acronyms and stuff we use are probably unfamiliar. But maybe walk us through, like, what is balanced training? What does that mean, even for those of us that maybe don't know?
Great question. Thank you for asking that. This is the way that I know it and would define it. The reason they call themselves balanced trainers is because of the 4 quadrants of operant conditioning. There's positive reinforcement, positive punishment, negative reinforcement, and negative punishment. And these people say that they are balanced because they use all of the quadrants.
What is,
Okay.
for example, what is positive punishment?
Positive punishment is, I mean, I could explain it to you technically, and it's where you add something aversive to a situation that decreases the frequency of a behavior. So, a shock collar is positive punishment.
Okay, so you want to stop your dog from pawing guests, and you zap them when they paw the guests. That's considered
Yes.
positive punishment.
Right. So, using all of the quadrants um, is not humane. We don't do it with children. We don't even Skinner, who developed these concepts, understood the negative ramifications of using punishment, and there are so many. In fact, in the dog training world, you will find that using positive punishment and negative reinforcement often causes aggression. They promote it as it cures aggression. That's far from the truth. There are so many myths and lies. Excuse me, that's the truth. There are so many lies, such as shock collars save lives. Oh my God. There is not one iota of evidence to show that there is any truth to that. And I, for example, have worked in shelter for 5 years. And I have treated, I don't know, scores and scores of aggressive cases. I have never seen not one case in aggression or at the shelter that would benefit from harsher treatment. And I have also, I have people in my group attesting to that. Presidents of humane societies and people who deal with thousands of animals, many of which come to them with aggressive display problems. And they say the same thing. Yet these myths and lies persist. And so many of our shelters and rescues hire these balanced trainers. It's like gotten completely out of hand, which is why I have become convinced that only legislative bills and laws and regulation of the dog training industry is actually going to make a difference.
And there's none, right? I mean, you don't have to have any. I mean, there are organizations, and maybe you can give us a few that are that you consider to be the good ones. Because even in my book, there are some that I mentioned that Linda was like, maybe you should rethink that, because my understanding of these things is somewhat limited, particularly in comparison to Linda. But there's nothing, right? Like I could call myself a top tier dog trainer tomorrow, and if people wanted to pay me $1,000 a session, I could get $1,000 a session. I've got a lot of people on YouTube. I got a lot of people on TikTok. They see me walk wolves all the time. That guy could probably be a really good dog trainer, right? And maybe I could, but I don't have a credential. But I don't need a credential to call myself that. I just need a credential to have the initials after my name for an organization that certified me. Is that correct?
The man that you are today could do that. The man that you were before you got bit by the wolf could also have done that, which is the problem, is that there are many people putting up flashy websites claiming, I forgot the terminology that you used, expert, expert dog trainer, so many years of experience, handled, wolves. Oh yeah, you could easily do this. You need no education, no proof of methods being animal friendly. You need nothing. So this is like Gene Donaldson has called it the Wild West in dog training.
And the dog daddy guy, for example, he has nothing, right? He has no cert, no formal training, no education in canine behavior, cognition, anything, right?
With positive punishment, it stops behavior.
Right,
So
it just shuts them down, right?
yes. So I mean, you can stop behavior with a shot collar. You can hit a dog over the head with a hammer, and that'll stop the behavior. It's
Sure.
like there is like zero skill involved in stopping behavior. So what we do alternatively is we look for the underlying motives and the drives for the behavior, and we address that just like they do, oh my gosh, in zoos, progressive zoos with potentially dangerous animals that could seriously hurt people. They don't use punishment. They don't use they don't use positive punishment or negative reinforcement. They've gone completely over to if you are skilled and you have studied learning and behavior, you understand that we can change emotions. We can change the triggers, the antecedents before the problem behavior occurs, and we can rearrange the environment and the events before a behavior occurs in order to calm the emotions, and then we can redirect an unwanted behavior into something else and reward that
So
which we want.
I want to bring this really home to people because I think this is really interesting. So let's and in my book I talk about resource guarding and aggression because in the wild with wolves, if somebody can steal your lunch, you're dead. Right? I mean, if you're a wolf and another wolf can roll over on you and take your bone, you're going to starve to death. And luckily, wolf families don't do that to each other, really. But there is still a very strong motivation that once you've got a hold of something, you want to keep your bone. And that's a common problem with people with dogs, right? They have dogs that have resource guarding. And I would love to hear how the application for this to help a person solve that problem. Let's just say you've got a border collie, and your border collie just gives you a growl and a side eye when you come up on it when it's got its food, and you're worried that it's gonna bite. And here's the thing: the number one thing that causes bites is 7-year-old white kids, boys. Right? They're the commonality of dog bites in the United States is kids that have never been taught to treat a dog with respect, and they do ridiculous bad things and they get bit, and then the dog gets blamed. So obviously there's an imperative there if you want to keep your dog and keep your kid without stitches, and your kid is a bit intractable. Obviously the first thing is you get rid of the kid so the dog has a nice life. But if you're not going to do that, walk me through the methodology for reducing resource guarding in that kind of a scenario. I think people it's realistic. It's what people deal with. So
Right. Yeah. My most recent case was resource guarding between what I call sibling rivalry within a family, which is really the most difficult cases that I take, because you have a household where two dogs are fighting, and the pet parents are just, throwing up their hands. They can't stop it. Let me say first, and then I do want to go back and I want to tell your audience my experience with wolves and wolf dogs, just to give myself some credibility.
Sure. Yeah. No. Linda has worked with wolves and wolf dogs as well, and so she knows what a lot of these critical distinctions.
So, but I do want to answer your question. So, resource guarding is not. It is more exaggerated in wolves because, like you say, this is a life and death situation. If you allow someone else, it's adaptive to survival to not allow another wolf, say from a different pack, to come and take your stuff. You will not procreate. You will die. So this is a natural behavior. It also occurs in humans. Like often when I can get people to put ourselves in our dog's moccasins, so to speak, and to understand that we as humans guard resources. We don't leave our houses wide open and let people off the street just come in and take our stuff. No, we lock our doors. We lock the doors to our car. We're very, very protective of our resources. And so it's important, it's imperative that we understand that it's a natural behavior. So typically, like in this house with sibling rivalry, the first thing is that the pet parents should not be giving high value items to the dogs when they're together. You know, they're going to, I have dogs even that have like plush toys. And like, even if they're not fighting, like one dog will end up with all 6 plush toys and the other one will have none. This is, there are hierarchical established roles. They're usually context specific with domesticated dogs. But in any case, so we rearrange the environment so we don't set our dogs up to fail in our eyes. In their, from their point of view, it's perfectly natural behavior. So, but if like a dog guards its food from a human, what we could do, and it's so simple. That's the beauty of this type of training. Once you get the hang of it, it's like, oh my gosh, I could do that. And I could even figure out how to do that too. You would just, for example, start by putting kibble in a bowl and then from a distance toss cheese near the bowl. And then your footsteps would predict that you're bringing cheese, and you drop the cheese into the bowl so that you are adding to the attractiveness of the food rather than threatening to steal it from the dog. So because we are the higher cognitively functioning species, we can figure out.
I might argue with you about that. I live in Tahoe. I see a lot. Yeah, as a funny aside, the difference between like the smartest bears and the stupidest tourists overlaps, and so we have constant bear problems because the tourists can't keep their cars shut or the trash closed. So, and dogs, I think, are every bit as smart as bears. So I don't know about that, but I want to ask you a question about the timing of this. See, part of what I see is people rush the dog, right? They go way too fast, and then they get impatient and they try to push the issue. So let's say you've got your border collie with intractable resource guarding of food, and you start this process, and the dog is it wants to snap at everybody. It's not just the 7-year-old; it's dad, it's mom, right? It's maybe it was in a food scarce environment for a long time, and it had to develop those skills.
So now
it has to unlearn that. Like, how long should it take before you would be really confident that you can approach a bowl or even take a bowl? Or does it mean that there always has to be a better exchange? Does something better always have to come? Or can you get to a place where it's like, oh, the dog has something it shouldn't have, I need to get that back without losing a fingertip? What's the time frame?
I would say, okay, firstly, as far as losing a fingertip, we don't ever want to take that risk. We don't want to take that risk with wolves, and we don't want to take that risk with dogs. So if you know that there's a potentially volatile situation, you're going to do everything that you can to avoid triggering the dog to bite, because biting is one of the only tools that they have to communicate with us and to let us know, hey, that's not okay, or I'm not okay with that. It's all from their perspective. So you do want to trade. You want to trade up. Now I had a client who I was teaching to trade up with cheese, and he gave his dog a pig's ear. And his Newfie was on the couch, happily chewing away on his pig's ear. And he approached the dog and he was going to do the trade up like I taught him. But his newfie was saying, great cheese, but I'm not interested. I'm more interested in what I'm doing. And he was doing a low growl. Well, my client thought he could kind of talk him out of it and ended up getting bit in the face twice. I mean, and you can imagine then what happened with the relationship between him and his dog. So it has to be more valuable from the dog's point of view. And as far as, ever feeling confident that you can just not trade, you have to look at the big picture, the whole picture. Not just, okay, the dog is not growling, but you have to learn a little bit about body language. And I have a chapter on this in my book. I mean, you're going to look at the whole body. The tail, is the tail wagging? Is the body stiff? Is the dog hunching over the food bowl? Your dog is talking to you all the time. Humans just don't know how to listen, but the dog is talking in body language and letting you know what's probably going to happen next. The most difficult cases that have what I call exacerbating factors in aggression is where the bite appears to come out of nowhere, that there are no warning signals. But, to the careful eye, to the trained eye, even, with a little history that I do, or a serious history with bite cases, I can uncover there are warning signals that the pet parents just don't recognize them. So, yeah, if you have a dog with the bite, and then we look at bite histories too, like how many times has this dog bit? Did they draw blood? Where did they bite? If they bite to the face, and not like in the case of the newfie, but if a dog like jumps up to bite in the face, that's exacerbating. So those are more difficult cases. So it would depend on a number of factors about the trustworthiness level and the skill of the person to read the dog as to how safe it would be. But typically, when you're bringing filet mignon, which is probably going to, is going to, be I hate to use the word Trump.
I use the term kryptonite treat. I tell people that they need to find the treat that your dog is weak for, whether it's cheese or hot dogs or ice cream or whatever. The one that's almost always a sure winner, and
Cappuccinos, yay!
Whatever it is, right? I mean, but so what do you do? And maybe this is just us, right? Because the problem is that we live inside a wolf habitat, and they're fast and they know that, like, oh, there's good stuff on the counter, or they'll open the fridge real quick and they'll get something, and now there is nothing in the world that's better than 3 pounds of butter, right? It's like, I've got 3 pounds of butter. What do you got, dude? Nothing. You got nothing. I mean, in that case,
you never want to get close to the butter and the wolf. I mean, I got to tell you, Oliver, not very many people live with wolves in their home.
There's a good reason for that. It's a bad combo. I mean, people have seen my videos.
I have counseled so many wannabe wolf dog owners who think they're going to bring the wolf dog into the house. Yeah. We have to have a serious conversation about environment and enclosures. What kind of animal they actually are considering adopting or getting from a breeder. So it's an unusual situation that you're in with that intensity.
Yep.
Of guarding. But okay, so you probably know this. How did the wolf get access to the butter, 3 pounds of butter to begin with?
Yeah, we slipped up, right? I mean, that's, it happens. You make a mistake. They're quick. Wolves, I mean, and I think dogs to some extent, especially dogs that are sort of hyper motivated about food, they're opportunistic hunters or opportunistic scavengers. Growing up, we had a dog we rescued who was near starvation when we rescued her. And no matter how much she ate, she always wanted to eat more. And she would go, walk about in our rural community, and the school would call my mom and be like, hey, Mrs. Starr, Telly's in the school cafeteria helping herself.
Well, if you had this butter situation, and it were a dog, I mean, I don't even know. Have your wolves and wolf dogs, do you have a doorbell?
Um, Not anymore. They ate it off the house.
Okay, well, you could go to Home Depot and buy one.
Yeah.
If they understand that the doorbell, if they have associated that with, we should run to the door and guard the house. Sometimes, if you ring the doorbell, the dog will stop fighting with the other dog, or the dog will stop doing whatever it's doing, eating the butter, and run to the door, giving you the opportunity to clean up 3 pounds of
Interesting.
butter. Right?
And
Yeah.
by the way, speaking of dog fighting, one of the things that we have, so wolf handlers that have proper facilities and know what they're doing have what we call bite boxes. Have you ever heard the term a bite box?
No.
So a bite box is a toolkit that's either right outside the habitat, inside the home, wherever there's a possibility of conflict, either wolf versus wolf, most common, or wolf and dog, or whatever, or even with a person. And so it's a toolkit that has several different tools in it that would enable people to get control of the situation. But the first line of defense that pros use, and I learned this trick from Kent Weber, who runs Mission Wolf, is cheap perfume. You just spray cheap perfume in the middle of the fight.
That is something I took from your book that I have just put into my courses. I'm developing courses based on my book.
It's just such an olfactory like overload. They're like, what just happened? And it gives that moment for people to take action, separate the dogs, or implement like the second tool in the kit, which is a bite stick, right? And you've probably seen a bite stick. Basically, it's like a short piece of broom handle. You might have a little strap on it so you can take control of it. But get the dog to bite something inert, and then you can work with the dog while it's biting that rather than you or another dog. And then the step up from that is a Y pole. Are you familiar with Y poles?
No, I have a list of how to break up a dog fight. I have like 12 different methods or something similar in my book. And I also have red flags for people to not get themselves in a situation with a dog that's having aggressive displays. But no, but tell me about the Y pole.
So Y poles are used by professional animal handlers, wildlife agencies, zoos. So it's basically a pole, a long pole, and at the end of it, it's like a Y, like this. And the Y is padded on either side, and it allows you to like hold an animal down by the neck, this sort of the same way that a mother wolf would pin a sibling or a subordinate. And it's very typically very safe. And it's, I mean, you're not doing this with your domestic dog, but let's just say you've got to get a coyote, right? You've got a coyote in somebody's house, right? They're either going to shoot it or you're going to get the coyote. And the less humane method that agencies use is a snare pull, which is a long pole with a loop, and you get the snare around the animal's neck and you pull it tight. You can hold the animal up and get control. A Y pull, the animal tends to relax, and then if you've got gloves on or whatever, you can get a hold of an animal and put it in a crate or whatever else. And so for facilities that have wolves or cats, like not tigers obviously, but medium-sized cats, they typically have a Y pole as like the last resort tool in a
Right.
emergency.
Yeah, these aren't the kind of things that we would have a necessity to use with any dog that I've encountered. And when you say the animal relaxes, I would.
I mean, you're not cutting off airflow or anything like that. It's basically a hold, like a pin, And
Right.
again,
So,
it's an
you know,
emergency tool,
shutdown,
right?
I talk about, I differentiate between shutdowns, tonic immobility, and relaxation,
Yeah,
which is
explain that to us, because that, I think that for the people listening, I know something about it, but I'd still like to learn.
well, it's a shame, but shutdowns are often confused for relaxation because the dog stops reacting, or the whatever wild animal
Yeah,
stops
yep,
reacting
yep,
because you have pinned their head
yep,
to the ground,
right.
not because circumstances have changed
Mm-hmm.
in any other way about their need
Mm-hmm.
to protect themselves or the triggers around them. You've just up that's positive punishment at
Okay.
its you know that is very similar to using a shock collar in theoretically
Mm-hmm.
in terms of how it acts and the effect upon the animal. And the effect upon the animal is the same, whether especially with social species, whether we're talking about rats, mice in a research laboratory where they often use shock, which is why we know so much
Mm-hmm.
about the deleterious effects of shock. The scholarly literature is filled, loaded with decades of evidence on the harm of shock because shock was used in research
Right.
for centuries. Is just up until recently where ethics committees have put that's this goes university by university, but in any case, so a shutdown is just basically what it sounds like. It is an emotional and behavioral, physiological, morphological uh, decrease in reaction to where it could appear that the dog is relaxed.
So is that that's what we're seeing when Dog Daddy or Caesar Milan or whoever basically chokes out the dog and then it heals after that. It's the same.
Yes, yes, the dog is now so fearful of the treatment it has just received. And often, shocking isn't just shocking for bad behavior. Shocking occurs often all around the dog until the dog performs the good behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So anything outside of the desired good behavior is going to receive a shock, which a lot of people don't realize the gravity of what's going on with these trainers. But a tonic immobility, we see with opossums, for example, where there's actually the appearance of death one step further from a shutdown, um, where a dog actually goes into like a state of consciousness that is like it's a disassociation. It's like total giving up,
Mm-hmm.
like, and it's adaptive to survival to appear dead. So these things are connected,
Mm.
right? They are connected, and it's a distinction that I talk about in my book, and it's of interest to me because it is used as it is confused with relaxation,
Mm.
whereas it is
Yeah, and you're really right. I mean, I think probably poor choice of words on my part. Um, and obviously this is a tool that's not used for dog training, right? You're talking about the alternative is that the wildlife officer is going to shoot an animal or something.
right. But as I was saying, wonderfully in zoos, where of course they're in a captive situation, but our dogs are captives.
Mm-hmm.
Your wolf dogs, wolves in sanctuaries are captives.
Yep.
They're all our captives, and therefore our responsibility to care for in a humane way. But progressive zoos, I have an interview I have a YouTube page. It only has like 6 things on it or something. you know, I'm a little behind the times in technology, so I'm really glad that you got this put together. Um, but let me, if I may, just talk a little bit about my experience with
Please.
wolf dogs, because I know your audience may be wondering, like, why am I here? And
Oh,
how
I
is
think
it?
I think they know you're here because I think you have a lot of valuable insights, and I'm stoked to have you. But please, by all means.
Well, I had learned in my graduate studies that learning principles apply across species. So, whether I started to talk about the effects of shock on rats, mice, chimpanzees, humans, dogs, wolves, the effect of the shock is basically the same. The pain experienced is basically the same. And now we are learning that the emotional pain of abuse is basically the same in social species, including like dolphins as well. Anyway, so I had learned this theoretically, and I experienced this, of course, working in the lab with mice. I'm sorry, with rats, with white rats. I did behavioral trials. And so, like, I knew this to be true, but I had not actually um, crossed the bridge to applying it myself. But I saw, in fact, it was on YouTube. I saw a video of people going to visit wolves. And are you able to show any of my slides?
We can give it a shot. I have them all queued up, so let's see what happens here. Let me let me drag it over to this other screen.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, no. Here, let me put the overlay over myself here, and
I mean, I don't want to cause any problems.
no, I already dragged it over, so let's just see here. No, I think we good. Hey, folks, can you see this slide here? I think you probably can, because I'm checking YouTube on my end. But can you guys see this slide here? And then which slide are you looking for, Linda?
Um, the one with the wolf kissing me.
The one with the wolf
Of course, I
kissing
have a
you.
few of
I have the
those.
one with the fox. You get a lot of kisses. I have the one with the fox kissing you. The wolf.
It's right after my book cover. If I don't know if you have
There's your
these.
New Guinea singing dog.
There's
There's
okay.
your.
This bracelet is
Oh,
lying across the photograph.
okay. I think I didn't grab that one. But no, here's another one. Here is you. It says Victoria Stilwell positively, and you've got a very wolfy animal kissing you right on the lips.
Um, I don't know which one you're talking about, but in any case,
Oh, you're getting a very nice smooch.
I can't see what you're doing. Am I supposed to be able to see?
If I share, let's see. Now this could break everything, but we'll try it because I'm
Oh, no,
feeling brave.
don't. Okay, there's a slide.
Here we go. They
It's
should
a
be able to
wolf,
see
not a
this.
wolf dog. A wolf.
This one.
No, that's Journey. That's a wolf. That's a high content wolf
Yeah. Oh,
dog.
that's Ambassador Journey. I have a story about Ambassador Journey that I told recently.
I have like a lot of stories about Ambassador
Journey's
Journey.
very, very wolfy. I mean, they can call Journey a wolf dog, but Journey's a wolf. I mean, like
Journey, yeah,
Journey's a wolf.
Journey is wolfy. Yeah, that's not the one, but it doesn't matter. That's fine. Um, Journey is, one of the stars of my show. But I saw this YouTube video of people in visiting wolves, and these were like people in shorts and like t-shirts, and they're just like walking in, and these wolves were kissing them.
Right.
I was like, oh my god, where is that? What's going on? And I I researched it out, and it was Wolf Mountain Sanctuary. And we haven't talked about this. I have a feeling we know like a lot of people in common, but this is in Lucerne, California.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know Tanya.
Okay, Little Wolf.
Yeah, Tanya Little Wolf.
Right. So, but this was my first experience. So I found out that I could go to this sanctuary and get up close and touch these wolves. And I was just so excited. I immediately, made an appointment, and I got this hotel room. And the night before, I was just all, like really jittery. I was like, I'm so excited. I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm doing this. I'm fine. I really wanted to do this. I'm not going to cry. I was so excited. And I was I was teaching classes at that time for, dog training, and I had a media assistant, and I was on the phone with him, and we're chatting, and he said, Linda, you do know that you could get killed. Okay. I was thinking about your story with the arm, right?
Yeah.
Your arm. And I said to him, well, I had considered that possibility, but, if that's the way I go, that's going to be okay with me.
It would be a good story.
What?
It would be a good story. World famous dog expert killed by wolves.
I said, and besides, there is nothing that is going to stop me from going there. I am going, So anyway, it turned out beautifully. And Tanya Little Wolf, the Native American that has this facility, and this was long, long ago, Oliver. I don't know, this was more than a decade ago. What I learned there was her ability to read body language. She was actually raised with wolves. She knew these wolves very well, and they were all rescues. I really believe my heart is in rescue. So, and she was just, instructing us as to what to do, what not to do, not to wear perfume, things like that. And so, it just went like wonderfully well. And I got this bracelet. You see this bracelet? And this is wolf fur. This was made at Wolf Mountain. You should. I bet you have like mountains.
Oh yeah, we give we give it away. We give little amulets away to guests from time to time, and yes, we have. I have stuff knit from wolf fur because we have so much wolf fur. We pluck it every shed season, and we bag it. And if I got motivated, I could sell it on Etsy because people turned it into yarn or felt with it. But yes. It's
and cool. I have this necklace here that I have fox fur in from the Belaya foxes, but I'll tell you, this fox fur smells so bad. I could drive men away for miles.
Well, maybe you find the one that really likes the smell, and that's the keeper.
What?
Maybe you find a guy that really likes the smell, and you're like, okay, you're the keeper.
Anyway, so that was like the beginning of my love affair with wolves, and that progressed. A couple of years later, someone called me and said, Linda, I know some people at the Wolf Education Project in Julian, and they have wolf ambassadors, and they would like you to come out and train their wolf dogs.
Oh, you train those dogs, huh? So you trained a Klemperer animal then?
Actually, it was before. Well, no, and that he was around. No, I don't train. At least from last I heard, I do not train in that fashion.
No. That's one of the bloodlines.
The breeder.
Yeah.
Indian.
One of the Arctics that they had came from him.
Actually, so I'm on the phone with this woman, and I had never done this before, anything like this. So I immediately say, "Oh yes, of course I can do that." And then I asked her the question, like, how old are they? Because, with dogs, I start training at 8 weeks.
Right.
right? You want to really get them in an early developmental stage. And so she said, "Oh, they're 8 months old." And I was like, "Oh my God." But I didn't say that. I said, "Oh, that's great. I'll be there." So I showed up, and I made the big mistake. I walked into a pen of wolf dogs with my treat bag.
Oop. You probably didn't keep that treat bag very long.
They nailed me. And
Yeah.
they, Jason is the director. I
Yep.
don't know if he's still there. Yeah, Jason. So I managed. They weren't trying to hurt me. They wanted the food. They're
Right.
like, "Hey,
They
this
have no
is."
manners.
Yeah, they did not. This. I learned so much about how docile they can be when you do not threaten them.
Yep.
They had been taught to jump up on people because people would go up to the fence and they go, "Ah," like this.
Yeah.
And the wolf dogs would like jump up and they'd, because they wanted to see them face to face.
Yep.
But Jason wanted me to train them to not jump up. And so my first wolf dog there, so I got out of the pen. I said, "This isn't going to work." I said, "I need a training pen." And Jason said, "Okay." So I come back there like in 2 weeks and he had built me a training pen, and with a high shelf for me to keep my treats. Right. So,
High
and
enough they couldn't get it, huh? God, I got animals that'll jump 9 feet for treats.
oh yeah, it was on the outside of the fence also. And I had like a 20, I think I had 22, or actually, no, that was for Journey. I had like the good stuff. And you talk about nutrition in your book. And the first chapter in my book is on nutrition. I mean, what could be more important for an animal that is completely dependent upon us
Mm.
than for us to feed them quality food?
Yep.
But anyway, so the first wolf dog, it took me. I think it took me 2 hours, and I'm supposed to be this expert dog trainer. I mean, I can teach a dog like not to jump. Like this was like really hard, but I did it. And then once and I used the clicker too as clicker training. You know, once he was convinced that not jumping was actually going to be more valuable and that it was okay to work with me. I mean, they're so smart. He could have learned it like in a half a minute. And fortunately, the next wolf dog that came in was even older, but it went much quicker. This first one was not easy.
Were
The
they
second,
watching each other? Because wolves really learn a lot by watching other wolves.
observational learning. At that time, I was not aware of the value of that. And in fact, I'm glad you pointed that out because, in the future, I'm going to be doing more and more of imitation, emulation, using the observational learning, the social learning that animals do with each other. We can use this to our advantage. And that definitely would have been a situation. Maybe he was watching me and that's why it went so much faster. I don't know. I don't really remember. But anyway, so that, one thing led to another. And what I did do is I taught Jason how to train the wolf dogs. And he was a very astute student. He learned the theory. I showed him everything. And I mean, I was in Julian. It's a long drive for me. So, I went out there maybe 20 times. And then it was, on him. And he took it from there. And so that's how it started. And then, Nicole Wild started referring some clients to me. And in fact, I saw your resource list with her A to Z book. Yeah, that was, I was reading everything that I could. And that was like a great help to me. So anyway, then I trained privately here and there. and Julie and Journey were, have you ever been to the San Diego Wolf Dog Walk?
I've never done that. I know a lot. Actually, I told us. Are you aware of what happened with Journey with the little girls and the balloons? So I was using this as an example. Somebody was saying you could have a wolf dog with real content be a service animal. And I said, I don't think so. And here's why. Because I think Journey was among the best ever. Like,
I created a whole, what do you call it? Shutterfly book on Journey.
I mean, just an amazing, stable,
And the relationship with
really a spectacular animal. But at the San Diego Wolf Dog Walk, Journey was tied. I didn't mention Journey, but this is was tied to a table while they were eating at one of the outdoor cafes, and there was a little birthday party.
I'm sorry. I don't really know that I want to.
Sure.
If something.
Oh no! There was nothing horrific. He got scared. He jumped up. Tables fell down. It was just an example of the fact that wolves are still wolves, and they're gonna be scared of stuff, and that's why they're not good service dogs.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the point.
So, yeah. So,
but I mean, and he's the best, right? I literally think he was maybe the best ever that I've ever heard of or seen. And so the point was, with an animal that exquisitely trained, you still can't control. Like, my Malamute wouldn't care, right? I mean, my little a bit unruly Malamute wouldn't care. But wolves have tremendous neophobia. It's really hard to get rid of. And no matter how spectacular the animal, it's why they shouldn't be wearing a service dog jacket on an airplane with a person that needs a true service dog.
Well, I'm really glad that, you put limits on some of these things because, bending to unrealistic goals in training, and it's not fair to the animal.
Exactly. That's really my point. Is you still have to understand the basic nature of the animal, and maybe somebody can make that happen. But I think that you're putting an animal into a situation that's very uncomfortable for them in order to get something that they were never really meant to do. There's so much better choices for your service animal.
And that's like a big problem with this dog training industry, that it's so much about entertainment. Mm-hmm. It's about ego. Mm-hmm. It's not about dog welfare. Mm-hmm. So I never thought, when I got involved in this field, I, was a nerd, and I had discovered wonderfully, my moment of enlightenment was really at the Humane Society, when I looked into these abandoned dogs' eyes, and I realized I could use my graduate training in separation anxiety to help these dogs. And so, using dogs to put on shows about shock collars, or about, Dog Daddy, like with his silly suits, and, the macho, the alpha that we can talk about, that you and I, touched on, this entertainment factor of using dogs for our own convenience, for our own service, and often at their peril to satisfy the ego needs of the handler, is just shameful. It is, for these animals that are supposed to be our best friends, and they are. They're unconditionally loving. I'd like to talk too about biddability. You talk about so many things in your book here. I have almost, I didn't put like a lot of markers in it, but I bent over pages and I have marked it. Almost every other page, I have circled stuff.
Oh, my goodness.
I was like, who is this guy? This guy is like my, It's just amazing how much we see through similar eyes. It's just really wonderful to have connected with you.
Thank you for that. We still have plenty of time, but I want to talk about the foxes.
Ah,
I really want to talk about the foxes. So, and I'm going to try, it's Belayev? Is that how we say it?
yes,
Belayev. Okay.
lie, Ev.
Belayev. Okay. Because I wasn't ever sure because I don't think I'd ever heard it said correctly because every time it's on TV, they say it wrong. So, for those of you watching, we're talking about the project that created friendly foxes. And there's some remarkable books about this. I would dearly love to work with these foxes. I would almost move to another state where it'd be easier to have one. They're so interesting and spectacular and beautiful and fun. And Linda got to work with them. But the most basic info of this is that the genius of this experiment, they got many foxes from fur farms. And they chose the foxes that they were going to breed based on their inclination to be friendly. That was it, as far as I know, that they were the ones that first approached humans more willingly or didn't show that they were terribly afraid of people. And they selected those foxes progressively over many generations. Correct me if I'm wrong. And that created what is now kind of generally known as the Sib fox or the Belayev socialized or domesticated line of foxes. And they got ultimately characteristics of domestication like party colored coats, floppy ears, curly tails, things that you never see in wild foxes. And so now I'm going to let Linda, who's actually worked with these foxes, straighten me out on all of it.
Well, being the nerd that I am, I had heard and studied about the Belayev foxes. For a decade. I had learned about this Russian scientist, Belayev, who had been studying domestication using foxes as his animal model since the 1950s and had this long-term ongoing study. And what he did is to provide us with the theory of the evolution of the domestic dog called the domestication syndrome. What did you say? Sib foxes?
Sib, the Siberian foxes. I think they've been called Sib.
Oh, Siberian.
Sib
Right.
foxes.
Sib foxes. Okay. So, yes. This study continues to this day, although Belayev has passed on. But he was a geneticist, and he bred these wild silver foxes, just as you said, to be tame toward humans. And if you've seen a video of the way it was done, they had foxes in, it's research. So the foxes were in boxes, and they just used what they called flight distance was the main criteria that they used to determine which foxes were going to go into the tame group. And they also, you don't hear a lot about this, they had a parallel group for aggressive foxes. So they just had a human approach the box. It was a small box. And depending upon the behavior of the fox, whether it reacted aggressively to the human or not, and how far away, how quickly it tried to move away from the human or not, would determine whether they would breed that fox with another tame fox. And they took the aggressive ones that were hissing and snarling and snapping, and they put those into the aggressive group and breed aggression to aggression and tameness to tameness. So, you had it all right. They got foxes that ended up whimpering for attention. They licked their handlers' hands like dogs do over just a small number of generations. It didn't take long for them to show that in addition to the behavior differences, there was, as you mentioned, a wide variety of physical and physiological variations. Spotted coats, floppy ears, curly tails, like our dogs. shorter muzzles, and also variation in skull and limb morphology. They also discovered that there was a later onset of the fear response during development for these foxes. And in fact, some places I have read that because they have adopted these foxes out to families, some families say they make better pets than dogs because they do not suffer separation anxiety.
Hmm.
They,
By the way, some of the viewers here are saying that they're somewhat concerned about how the foxes were treated. You were pointing out this was research. Keep in mind that these were, again, not a positive comment on my part, but just acknowledging the circumstance there in Russia at the time. And remember that it's getting to be less so now, but the fur industry in Russia is a major economic industry over there, and so. Sad. I love foxes. You know me. I fight all this stuff. But and I think ultimately some of the people that ran the program actually treated the foxes better and better as time went on. But I don't disagree with you guys that it wasn't awesome to be one of these foxes to begin with, for sure.
No, yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Oliver, and with your viewers. This research, when we look at I worked in research, so although I was never a crossover trainer, what I've seen in laboratories and what I know of from studying research, I mean, if you even, have heard of learned helplessness, for example, Seligman, the father of positive psychology, was shocking dogs in order to discover the theory of learned helplessness.
Yeah.
I mean, what goes on in research is not always pretty, and this was not pretty. However, many of these foxes, after being taken out of, they would retest them. Yeah, it was not a good life. It was like a laboratory life, but they were not, there was not positive punishments being administered.
Mm-hmm.
It was all like flight distance and tame, and and so nothing was being done to them. They were being kept captive. That is true. So, but the ones that were adopted, and Oliver, you would love this because you're so into genetics. You can go and visit these foxes. And do you have the photographs, the slides of me with?
I do. Here, you guys, let me share a slide here. I'm going to share. If I just pop them up, I think the viewers can see them. But here, let me just share the screen, and we'll do it like that. Give me a sec here, because yes, let's say here, share window, share screen.
Maybe ask if people can see them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they'll be able to when I'm sharing the screen. Now we've got did it. It went back to the infinite. Let me stop that. Oh no.
Oh, good.
Right.
Okay.
Let me try again.
I don't need to see it as long as they can see it.
Okay.
This is for a photo shoot, so I'm all dressed up here, so don't mind that.
Here. All right. So yeah, they can. So now they can see. And let's see here. That's the guinea singing dog. There's your hockey needs.
Right. There's a place called the Judith A. Bassett Conservation and Education Center that has adopted many of these foxes. And you, not only Oliver, but everyone listening, can go and visit.
Where is this place?
It's in Santa Isabel.
Oh, so it's in California.
Yeah, it's right around the corner from Julian.
Yeah, so you're with in this picture. You're looking at a white fox with speckled feet. I think it's named.
That's Maksha.
Maksha. Okay, that's the one that's in the book, right? Didn't that one get exported out to save it? I think am I remembering correctly?
In what book?
The woman who worked with Belayev. God, I'm saying it wrong now. Belayev. She was like the
Truth.
What was her name?
Her last name is Troot.
Troot. Yes, her. Wasn't this one of the foxes she hand raised?
It might have been. I don't really know the history. David and Amy from the Judith A. Bassett Education and Conservation Center have a number of these foxes. So, and they have the Australian singing dogs, and they just added a jackal. They rescued a jackal. They have a wolf dog, Oliver, but you can go visit these foxes, and I bet they would love to have you as a guest, Oliver. In fact, because of your interest in lineage and canine genetics, David and Amy, they are brilliant. They could talk to you for days about the genetics of all of the animals that they have. It's fascinating. It's an education center. That's what they do, is they teach. So, yeah, anyone can go. I can, if I could learn how to use the chat, I could pop in the website.
You can text it to me, and I'll pop it into the YouTube chat here.
I will do
and
that.
I'm looking for the other picture of you with the other fox. You have one where you're in a red dress.
Right, that's Victor. And Victor, yeah, they do events. They do these photo shoots. So, having worked with them, and this I've just did,
Here's Victor.
because I wanted to see them.
Yeah, and Victor looks more like a typical red fox.
He is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is. So, they have like black phase, just like, black phase wolves, which are my favorite. I'm just attracted to the black dogs, and just am. It is an amazing experience to go there. They have all kinds of events, but the private tours. And Oliver, you're like a star in your own right.
Okay.
And in name, I believe that David and Amy would love to.
Well, I'll behind the scenes, I'll get it. Maybe we can get hooked up and we can figure that out. I would love to do that. And I have a friend of mine here who's actually paid a visit to us up here, Jeff Kim, who has wolf dogs. He's gotten a lot out of his animals. He's one of the few people that has really been successful at getting his animals to do lots of stuff. He came to visit and they hung out in his car. If I went to visit somebody and my animals hung out in the car, nobody here has seen the inside of my car. Right now the seatbelt is tied together, but because Sonny ate the seat, I had her in the car. We stopped at my wife's restaurant. Sonny ate the seatbelt. We thought we were past that phase, but apparently we're not.
Can you show the slide of the black phase wolf dog?
I think that is. Let's see here. Where is it? I just had that one. Here it is. Here you're walking. You've got one on a harness.
That's Jason. Well, me teaching Jason had to walk Shiloh on a harness. I mean, I have video. I mean, shock collars, prong collars, all this like slip leads, choking dogs. If you learn a little bit of skill, you can learn how to walk a dog on a harness. If I can walk a dog on a wolf dog on a harness, you can walk your dog on a harness. And so, but that's not the one. It was the other slide.
Here, your hand feeding one. It's got its paw.
Right.
Yep.
That's Shiloh, and you can see my clicker on my wrist. But speaking of cars, yeah, I was transporting Shiloh, and I don't know if it was fear or just part of who he is. He was my heart wolf dog. He took like a giant poop in my car.
They poop in the car. I have some animals, they get car sick. My old lady wolf, a Kutak, she pees in the car almost every time because she wants to claim it for herself. I mean, we do have a wolf car that's specific for the wolves.
I a lot of poop, having worked at the shelter, but these are like big poops.
Yeah. They're big dogs.
Anyway, Well, okay. So, yeah, I think that you would find this fascinating. Their whole lives revolve around these animals, and we actually went out for lunch with the Australian singing dog, and people were like,
People knew that it was an exotic animal.
"There's something wrong with that dog." Can you show the picture of?
Yes,
They are incredible.
this one here. It's just the straight on of the dog on a hardwood floor. Yeah.
Right, right. They're just wow. I mean, pictures do not do justice to the experience of being near these animals.
Yeah, Wild Spirit Wolf Sanctuary had, I think, still has a few Australian singing dogs, and so I spent time with them as well, listening to them vocalize. It's super fun.
So it's such a honor to have the privilege to get so close to the wildness. It really touches that wildness inside of us, and there's like this connection that's unlike anything I've ever experienced. I mean, my experiences with the wolf dogs were like not only the highlight of my career, but of my life. I mean, it is such a, I mean, there aren't really words to describe, um, the, it's almost like a life-changing experience. And to get that close, and I'm a big canine lover, so it matters not what type of canine. I have just always loved them all. I mean, I even like hyenas, and so
Oh, hyenas are fascinating. I think they're super interesting. I would love to work with hyenas. That's a whole different.
yeah. Well, so anyway, so um,
What did you do with the Belaya foxes? You just got to spend time with them, or did you do any training with them?
oh yeah, no, I was training. I was
How were
training.
they to train?
Very smart, very smart. I have my training chops down pretty well. So, like teaching the simple stuff like recall, sit down, but it's always feels like a miracle. Positive reinforcement training is is so magical, but it's all steeped in scientific evidence, as to why it works, and it does work with all animals across species. So yeah, they were very fast learners. I was just showing David and Amy like a few training tips. They have a trainer. Uh, they're doing like a lot of scent work also. You know, but yeah, I mean, it was just so joyful being there. And I've taken a people, a couple of close friends up for private tours, and people are just, they come away like, like just in awe of the experience. So, just being around them is like, it just uh, can be life changing.
So I want to circle back to the training question for just a second. For my, what do you do with animals who are not food motivated?
Well, firstly, let me say, I just got to say this, Oliver. All animals are food motivated because food is a primary reinforcer. We all need food in order to survive. So, if you have an animal that's not food motivated, again, we need to look at what's going on with that animal emotionally. If dogs, or whatever animal is in emotional distress, they're not going to eat, just like we don't.
Mm.
If you're like suffering grief or fear, you don't like grab a cheeseburger. I mean, unless you have like an eating disorder or something, you do not feel hungry. They will refuse food. Like when they see it, if you have like dog aggression and they see another dog, they may just refuse food because the distance from the trigger is too small. They are overly aroused. So finding, just like I had to find what it was that Journey and Shiloh, who is the black phase here, and all of the wolf dogs, what they preferred. And you know what? Julie had the key. She said, Journey really likes In-N-Out burgers. I had like bison and, she said, so, I mean, whatever it is, you need to find the key. Also, I do recommend never, ever, ever food deprivation. That's like entirely against every single principle that I hold to. However, having a little training session before breakfast or before dinner, or if, as you mentioned, feeding 4 times a day, which is a good idea. People need to be more generous with the food. There's a great meme by Gene Donaldson again, who talked about some trainers promote stinginess with dog training as if that were like a good character trait. No, we don't want to be stingy. We want to be generous. So, I need to get a little more background on what you mean by not food motivated, because eating is adaptive to survival. We all do it, and dogs, being our captives, cannot go to the grocery store.
So to fill you in a little bit, I've had many wolves over the years who, and maybe it's just because they even if they were hungry, like, so we feed once a day. That's the protocol. And it's just a more natural way with wolves, because they don't, they gorge, they sleep, right? And they don't always eat. And so we also do and this is kind of a common practice along the places that are, I would say, the most knowledgeable about wolves. They tend to fast for a day, a week, so that there's apoptosis, and it's just a more natural cycle, because wolves eat, sleep, on a kill till it's exhausted. When it gets depleted, then they get active and they hunt. And they maybe don't make a kill right away.
If I may, okay, so I was just talking about food.
Yep.
It is one reinforcer.
Mm-hmm.
So what is now being considered as, in some circles, in some academic circles, as a primary reinforcer is play. So it doesn't have to be food. Mm. Find out what is rewarding for that animal. If it's playing tug, if you see, like, I go to an agility trial and you see dogs like back chained to perform trick after trick after trick after trick, their reward for doing all that is a tug. Mm-hmm. That's it.
Yeah.
Jump into the arms of their handler often and a tug on a rope. That's the reward. So finding what is rewarding for your animal, although typically food will be, if so go ahead. So you're going to tell me.
I've had some animals that under, and I'm not under duress, not even doing something unfamiliar, just don't care, right? And to be fair, in particular, I'm thinking of my oldest animal right now, but she has always been super fussy. She has been an animal that will refuse food with nothing wrong with her at all for days if she doesn't like what you're feeding her. Like, one of the things that people who do wolves do is they like to switch protein from time to time, so it's not the same thing. Like, we cycle through seasons, and when we try to switch, like, rabbit is a real whole rabbits, right? We're not talking about parts of rabbits. We're talking about the whole darn rabbit.
Right. That's what Jason feed. Yeah.
It's a really good food source for wolves. It's good for their GI. It's good for their teeth. It's good for their enrichment. This animal would go for 2 weeks without eating a rabbit. She just won't eat a rabbit. And then the minute you bring Costco roast chicken home, she's like, yeah, I'm about that. But then you give her Costco roast...
What she wants.
Right, but then you give her Costco roast chicken for 4 days, and she's like, yeah, I'm over it. She's really difficult. And so to train her with food is...
Dogs, I don't know if it's so much true with wolves, but dogs need, and we should provide them with variety.
Oh, sure.
We should rotate.
Yep.
within a brand, different protein sources, and then rotate between brands with different protein sources, because this myth of feeding your dog the same thing every day, the same kibble for their
Oh yeah,
lifetime.
you probably see that Far Side. All right, dog food. Right, it's the same food every day. Yeah, we do it. We're a full raw. We don't. The only thing commercial that we feed our animals at all is Costco makes a chicken jerky that's got like 4 ingredients that some of our animals like as a treat, or we use.
You can sprinkle, you can use a topper, like it, figure out what she does like, and then try to top what her nutritional needs are that may not fall within that category.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we do all that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, she's just a pain in the butt. She's got our number. That's the problem.
But
She's
it's
got
not
our
a
number.
training issue, right? This is just, you're just talking about, you need her
Well,
to
both, right? So it's to
right?
get to train her because, I mean, so this is an animal that I've had on stage in front of 10,000 people. So when she was younger, she would work pretty good for hot dogs. Like that was her kryptonite treat, was cut up hot dogs, and I could get her to do a lot with cut up hot dogs. But as she got older, she just was like, no, I'm just not interested in doing that. And so we retired her from stuff because I didn't want to make her do anything. And so she gets to be the queen of all she surveys, and she wants to go out and go in the car and go camping with me. But she's not super keen on learning anything new or interesting for that's just not her. And so she doesn't respond to treats. We try to get her to do stuff with treats or anything. She's just like, nah, I'm not doing it. She'll just look at you.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm
Well,
old. I'm not doing it. She's 14 and a half.
we really need to look at our expectations,
Yep.
our motives for why are we asking an animal to do something.
Right. And I don't. I mean, that's the thing is I don't spend a ton of time doing that stuff. My animals have some limited commands, but mostly they're wild animals that live in my property.
And oh my gosh, excuse me, but if you don't mind,
No.
in positive progressive dog training, we no longer use the word command
Okay. Yeah. No. Correct me. I mean, or whatever. And
because of
for
its
sure.
militaristic,
Right. Right. And that's
authoritative. You
yeah.
must do this.
Yeah. Well, there's none of that with wolves. It's always a polite request at best, right? Or a suggestion to be
We call it a cue.
a
We give
cue. Okay.
a hand signal
Yep.
or a voice signal is a
Yep.
cue. It's
Yep.
a request
Right.
rather than a command. And so, I talk a lot about language,
Yep.
way our language it predicts how we see our animals and how we see our relationship with our animals. So we're trying to change
And
the way
thank you for
wolves.
that. I have that same thing with wolf packs and families, so I appreciate the distinction and it's funny. We were talking about this yesterday. Is that each of my animals has their own unique request? Cue, right? So my old lady was good citizen to sit and be nice, right? And Icknick was proper gentleman, which is hilarious because he's so big and he's my most well mannered animal ever. And it's so funny. He sits down, he waits, he's kind of dancing from foot to foot. You know how wolves do the dance, right? Yeah, I have dainty lady, cute princess, who's a good boy is New Naryak. New Naryak has a hard time being a good boy. He's just very impatient.
They're all good boys and girls.
Yes, they are. They
Our
are. Oh, they're
perspective
howling for us right
is
now.
what they were bred to do, So, any judgment calls on our part is about us
Yes.
rather than about them.
Yeah. Well,
So
and I think my book, it says my dogs are unruly, and I hope your dogs are a little unruly too. Unruly dogs are healthy and happy because they're being able to be themselves.
yeah,
And I don't know if you can hear this. We're going off right now here.
I do hear. I hear howling. Yes. Oh, when I used to drive up to Jason's place, have you been there?
No.
No. And when you drive up this hill, you hear them all howling and howling as we drive up the hill. It was just like music to my ears.
Yeah, that's the whole pack.
How many?
So we have 5 plus the Alaskan Malamute. And you can hear her hopping in and out with a little owl.
That's so funny.
My prior Malamute had a wolf-like howl. He just sounded like a big wolf. But this one is a little different. But she also barks, which is very strange for Malamutes. Most Malamutes don't bark at all.
Well, Jason did have a guest bedroom, and he and his wife, Catherine, were so kind to host me overnight because it's exhausting, like driving out there from Del Mar to Julian and spending hours in the sun working with the wolf dogs that I wanted to do like 2 days in a row. So sometimes I would stay overnight and the wolf dogs would be howling right outside, my sliding glass door. I thought, oh, this is heaven. This is a little piece of heaven.
I'm lucky that I have a very understanding community. Like, I worry a little bit about it when they go off at once. So I was talking, I don't know if you've heard of Jeff Reed. He's the guy that's decoding wolf howls with AI. He's working with the Yellowstone National Park Wolf Project. And very interesting stuff. And he just did a TED Talk. And he was telling me that his research says that wolves howl the most at 1 and 5 a.m. And I'm like, yeah, kind of. And he says, how do your neighbors like that? And I said, decades, I had one complaint. Actually, it was funny. Here's a little inside. So this is about Tanya. How long ago was that when the AC called us?
3 months ago in early summer.
Like earlier this year. The AC calls me up and goes, "Hey Oliver, I'm really sorry to bother you. I need to send somebody out to talk to you." And I'm like, "Oh no, what's happening?" Right? And I have a great relationship with these people, right? They're the ones that call me when they've got like a wolf dog problem or whatever. But it's like, yeah, and I'm like, oh no, here we go. And so a new person who's never worked, I've never worked with them before, rolls up, and she's a little intimidated, and she says, yeah, we had somebody call like 3 or 4 times that your wolves were howling for 2 hours between 6 and 8 a.m. And I said, that's interesting. Let me go back and look on I said, I don't remember that, and I've been home. Let me go look on the cameras. And so luckily for me, I have cameras that are noise, motion, everything, all over the place. And they responded to a coyote once for 4 minutes at 7:24. And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you. Here's all the footage. And that was the last I ever heard of it. Apparently it was like somebody staying in a vacation home for a week. And they decided to complain about
it's problematic with people keeping wolf dogs at least a couple of the facilities that I've worked with. It's been brutal what the neighbors
we have to be
just
to
really
politic it. We're really lucky. We're really established in our community. But we go out, like when the house next door to me is for sale, it's an expensive home. And the people that lived there originally loved us and our animals. They wouldn't sell to somebody who wasn't good with the animals. Like they had people that made offers. They're like, you're not, we don't trust you with this guy. We'd rather you wait. And then we had a great neighbor who I guess his wife doesn't like Tahoe. And so those folks are selling their house, but they're really good too. And
oh my God, who doesn't like Tahoe?
She's a little more high society, and Tahoe's pretty redneck.
Well, there's one more thing that there's so many things that I wanted to talk to you about, but
we can always do another one. If you have fun, we can always schedule another one. Guys, you want us to do another one of these? We'll let our audience weigh in too, but I would love to, because I've learned a bunch of stuff today that's been super helpful, and one of these days I'll bring you out and you can show me a few things, because like I said, my dogs are unruly, but my version of unruly is probably turned up to 37 with a knob broken off. So maybe I can figure out how to get the butter back.
Well, I don't know if you're going to want to eat it.
Oh, there's dog hair and everything. We share food with. I have video of me sharing food off my plate with my wolves off the fork.
No, I just like change my clothes and put them in a bag and shower every time I.
Yeah, we're
So
not that at all.
yeah, but you live inside of their world,
We're so deep in it,
so
Linda.
connected.
The other day, well, it's a few weeks ago now. My wife is outside cutting up a bunch of chicken for the wolves, and I looked at her and I'm like, "Do you?" And I had to go get the camera. I'm like, "Do you realize that you are literally wearing wolf pajamas, a wolf T-shirt, a Little Red Riding Hood bathrobe, a wolf apron, and you're cutting up wolf food while wolves are watching?" And she looks at herself and she's like,
Like,
"I
yeah,
didn't know it." Like it's like the Febreze ad where it's like what you think your car smells like and what your friends think your car smells like, right? Like that, we don't even know. Like it's so bad we don't even know.
well, let me just say back on the nerdy side that I think on the first page of your book or the first chapter you mentioned relationship, and that that caught you got me at relationship, Oliver, um, and that raising dogs is similar to parenting human children, raising teammates, not inmates. Yeah, the titles to your chapter are just brilliant. Um, so yeah, this idea of parenting, very, very important in my work. And wonderfully, now we have not only biological sciences, but neuroscience to confirm through functional MRIs, brain imaging of dogs' brains, that when comparing them to children's brains, that dogs have the impulse control of an approximately 2 to 3 year old child for life. They're not going to, the child is going to grow up and go through developmental changes. The dog's just going to stay like a 2 to 3 year old toddler. And
Mm.
that's why I use the term pet parent.
Mm-hmm.
And this idea of parenting and secure attachment, I started looking into during my stay, my 5 years at the shelter, because the abandonment issue is directly connected to, not having a secure base.
Mm.
And so what I found there about the similarities of what I could learn from separation anxiety studies on humans and apply it to dogs was so interesting. And Dr. Gregory Burns, who has done these functional MRI studies, also found that when a dog looks at their person, they have the same brain activity as when a baby looks at its mother.
Mm.
The same brain areas light up. So we really need to take pause in considering how we are going to treat these animals. I just put out a meme and it said, half of the time, a dog does not even understand what the hell is going on. To harm such a creature is shameful. They do not and will not have the cognitive abilities that people suggest would require punishment,
Mm-hmm.
unless you would punish a 2 to 3 year old child. So anyway, on that note, I just wanted to, share that with your audience. And I don't know if there is interest in having me come back, but I would certainly consider it. And I would like, if you would, to post if anyone wants to get in touch with me.
Yeah, please. I'll share that. And by the way, just so you know, right now what's displaying, in addition to us, is the cover of your book. People should know where to get your book, obviously. And if people want to work directly with you, if that's possible, I think we should also make sure that that is available. So,
Well, my book is on Amazon, as well as Dogwise and other, booksellers, and wonderfully, it's in over 250 university and college libraries, which is like, oh my gosh, around the world. I mean, my book is in like the Botswana library and all these technical institutes. So, but Amazon is the easiest place to find it. The Do No Harm Dog Training and Behavior Handbook.
shoot me
And
the links you want me to share, and I'll post them in the chat here.
where I don't, oh, right, I have
Yeah,
that chat.
right in our in call chat, and then I will copy and paste and share those for you.
Okay, so where did the chat box go?
It's the little. Let me close it and reopen it, and that way I'll know.
More
It's
options.
over. It's over on the far right hand side. It looks like a little blurb sign.
A little what? I had it before, but
Here,
it's
I'll
not.
say hi, and then you'll be able to find it maybe.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that worked. Okay. Okay, yeah. So, and I also put
There we
my
go. Cool.
How to Train Your Wolf Dog. And so I'm going to send you the link to the Judith A. Bassett Canine Conservation and Education Center, which I think will just delight you and your audience if anyone is nearby or, wants to make the trip. It's like totally worth it, for people who have hearts as we do and, wants to connect with some wildness and have a real excellent learning experience.
Oh, it's not letting me paste into the chat. This is annoying. Let me try again. You think the tech would be simpler than it is these days?
I don't know. That chat box that I had has just disappeared, Oliver. So I don't
It's not
know.
cooperating the way I want it to. Okay, guys. So it's not letting me paste into the chat. So what I'm gonna do is afterwards, because this recording will be persistent, I will pin it at the top so people can find this, and that'll actually give you broader exposure.
It's donoharmdogtraining.com. So you can also go there and more about what I do and the few select clients that I am seeing mostly in person, only in my very close proximity, but I do virtual training. And you can find me in the Facebook group. Like I said, I'm hands-on like Oliver, so I'm here all the time.
Here we go. I'm just going to type them all out here for people.
And I have an upcoming, you can see all my speaking engagements on my speaker page and how to contact me if you're interested in having me speak. Also, I am presenting at the International School of Canine Psychology on November 2nd through the 4th, I believe, which is a terrific organization. And I think they might be interested in having you as well, Oliver.
Before I do that, I think it would be important for you to give me a quick tutorial in better vernacular. I think that would be really helpful. So I don't use my. And again, it's because this all comes from just my life experience, not from and I don't engage that much with the community.
Our 2 hours of conversation. No, I went through I think every single page of your book. I'm like, I think you're ready.
Okay. Well, and by the way, I doubt he's watching right now, but hat tip to my younger brother Spencer, who, as I told you, was the president of the oldest dog club in Los Angeles, and rescues healers, and he helped me a lot with that stuff because he's deeper in your world, in that regard than I am. And when I actually told him, that you and I were in touch, he was like, "Oh, really? Her?" Like he totally knew all about you and was pretty impressed. But he you've seen him in the book. He's the one with the dog and the dryer balls. Which, by the way, if there's one tip from my book that I think is money for people, I love this tip. Is you want a chew toy for your dog, an enrichment toy that not only is ecologically reasonably responsible, not bad for your dog in any way. Most dogs just absolutely love it, and as a bonus, it cleans their teeth, is organic wool dryer balls. The ones I get are called Woolsies. Animals love them, and they can eat it, and it doesn't hurt them. It actually scours the digestive tract. Think about wolves eating hair and hide, or any dog eating a mouse or a rabbit, right? This is all organic, untreated. It's amazing. I've had people write to me from my book and be like, "Oh my God, my dog loves dryer balls so much." Right? These are unscented, right? They're just straight up organic wool in a ball. It's way better than, when your dog eats a plushie and starts, swallowing the plastic, right? And it's $24 for toxic.
Yeah, it's hard finding great chew toys.
It really is. My animals find plenty of chew toys, but they used to squeak.
Yeah, prey drive.
Oh yeah. Although my Malamute has a higher prey drive than any of the wolves. It's crazy. She's the killer. This is crazy. I mean, Tahoe is a mouse and rat haven, right? We live in the woods. We don't have screens. We sleep with our doors wide open. We don't have mice. I years ago, when we had just 2 animals, we'd get a mouse every now and then. Now, not a one. And I go outside of the habitat at night, and they're everywhere. But there's been an accord, and I think the accord is the Malamute's like, "I'll definitely kill you if you come in the house." Outside, it's 50-50. In the house, it's a done deal. And they've all talked to their buddies, and they're like, "Don't come in the house. It's a bad landlord."
Okay. Well, on that note, I would like to extend my my good wishes to everyone who has an interest in what we've been talking about and the subjects that are close to our hearts. And thank you for your patience with this short delay and with sticking with us, and for your feedback, which I don't know what it was.
I still don't know how I got it to work. It just suddenly worked. So sometimes there's a ghost in the machine, and unfortunately for us today, we got it. But thank God it wasn't 8:30, and I was still futzing with it, because I would have probably been pretty upset. But thanks for your patience, and for giving us the time, and for being so warmly receptive of my work as somebody coming at it from a very different angle, and I really appreciate the kind words. And yeah, I think we definitely want to do one of these again.
Yeah, I think it's really important. I failed to mention a key point. I think your work and your book is so important, because a lot of the topics that you discuss are the mysteries that pet parents have about their dog behavior. And for them to understand where this is coming from, how natural and normal it is, and why dogs do it, is like such a contribution to the field. And so I thank you for that, for taking up that, and for connecting with me, Oliver.
Well, it's really an honor and a pleasure, and I have to blame my wife for the book, because I've been talking about writing this book for 15 years, and she finally was like, "Either write it or don't talk about it anymore. I'm done. Just do it or give it up." And it was kind of like, yeah, I was like, okay, I better write it. And the problem was narrowing it down to something that was not a 600-word manifesto.
It's brilliant. I do hope that a publisher takes it up with, and I look forward to seeing your TEDx talk as well.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And guys, everyone, thank you so much for hanging with us. I hope you enjoyed it. And we'll schedule another one. I'm gonna press Linda to do it again, because it's just for me. It's like super fun to talk to somebody who knows so much and has such wide experience from, you know, and the next time I want to dig into like some of your problem cases. Like I want stories next time of some of the most interesting and challenging. Like I thought it was really interesting learning about the guy who got himself bit over a pig ear, but I'm sure you have 100 stories, and I would love to dig into some of that, and then also maybe get people to come with more questions, right? It would be great to have people bring their problems, and maybe we'll promote something about bring your problems and we can answer some questions.
Right. You know, we could have an Ask Us Anything, Oliver.
I think that would be really fun, would be to do an AMA.
Also, so people understand from the gate that it's interactive.
Yep.
You know?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, thank you again. And guys, thank you all. Appreciate it. And again, Linda's book is now in the chat. You can click the link. And if you got a dog, you should buy the book. You really should buy the book.
Namaste.
And we will catch up later. But thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Bye, everybody.